Welcome to the Golden Hour with me, your host, The Golden Dawn. Hi, family. Welcome back to the Golden Hour podcast with me, Dawn. Nice to see you guys again. So, as you can see, we are joined with a friend. We've got Tariq Dupri with the show.
What's up, family? How's everybody doing tonight? I'm so blessed and thankful to be here. I appreciate you inviting me on the show.
Of course.
It's an honor, always. I'm excited to give y'all some information.
So you guys don't know, this was always the plan. The plan was this co-hosting situation, but, you know, his schedule's tight, so we'll blame him.
That tends to be how it goes in this little situation we got going here.
It is what it is. But you're here now.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's all that matters. That's all we got.
So this episode, I'm super excited to talk with you about and to share with these viewers and listeners. We're talking about detachment today. So not only detachment, but just the idea of non-attachment, depending on how you like to hear it in your own head. Sometimes, you know, people have to hear it a different way. So detachment or just non-attachment. But you might be wondering, like, what are we even talking about with detachment? So detachment in its essence is overcoming the desire for things, people, concepts of the world, the desire of it. But all of that while not disengaging. You want to stay engaged with the world around you. You have something to say to that?
Absolutely. So, like, for me, when I first heard about detachment and, like, using that as, like, a spiritual practice or just using that to really, like, allow so much more into your life, like, my first idea that popped into my head when I hear about detachment is like, oh, like, I need to cut these people off, I need to be away, I need to be, like, completely isolated and just, like, locked in my room somewhere, just detached.
I feel like that's the first thought of a lot of people.
Yeah, because that's just what it sounds like. And, like, I don't know, I feel like so many times it's spoken about but not, like, going into enough detail about, because so many people are just, like, new and familiar or unfamiliar to this concept, and, like, it really needs to be broken down.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're here.
Absolutely. So it's funny you keep talking about all the different ways that you've heard the term detachment, but you're just, like, not quite sure. So I want to start off with what it's not. Let's just get that out of the way, what it's not. So being detached is kind of a paradox, because our soul needs to be engaged. That's how we're on this physical realm. We're here for the engagement with this physical realm. So the question is, how do you detach from the physical world while engaging in the physical world, right? So when you're engaged in the world, that's allowing us to practice that work that we're doing spiritually. So without the attachments of people and relationships in your life, then you're not able to really put to practice compassion and patience and being able to control your emotions. Remember emotional consistency from episode 3? You had something to say about that in resistance, right? What was that?
For sure. So, like, I feel as though attachment itself, you know, you think of attachment, you think of being, like, attached to something, and the universe, everything, us, like, we're always in a constant motion. So things are constantly coming together, splitting apart, coming together, splitting apart, intertwining, maybe just never coming back together again. So it's all these different movements within the universe. But then, like, having this attachment, you try to, like, move with that attachment, and then all of a sudden, like, what is there? There's friction.
Yes.
There's friction, or there's resistance. And I really think that there's really only, like, 2, like, states of being that we could really be in, and that's, like, a state of resistance or a state of just, like, allowing things to flow. Yeah, and it's just like I was saying, like, the universe is in a constant flow, so this is, like, the natural, the organic state of being that, like, we, like, our souls are always in. So it's, like, a matter of, is our physical self, is our energetic self, is our auric field, like, in alignment with that flow, or, like, we resisting that flow?
I love that concept, just the idea that there's only 2 ways you can be. You're either in resistance or you're in the flow of the energy. Yep. That's period and point blank. Absolutely. So just piggybacking off of that one, detachment is not an excuse to not care about your relationships with the people around you. So I know a second ago you said that, you were misled to think that, does that mean that you just withdraw? But that's not, detachment is not that. Detachment is indifferent. It's not indifference. It's not apathy. It's not passivity.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I literally I did that for a period of time. I disengaged completely, and I'm like, yo, like this is it. It wasn't it. It wasn't what it might have been what I needed in that time, but like I was looking at it in the wrong sense. I was actually isolating instead of just detaching. And in that isolation, I was able to practice like that detachment in a way, like connecting with people from a distance, showing that love from a distance, kind of like learning to set boundaries in my relationship, and like through that distance, through that isolation, and like that period of like physical detachment, I guess you could call it, being separated from whoever, people, places, and things for certain periods of time, like it really gave me it allowed me to let go of the attachment that I had to all of these things that were creating like unhealthy patterns and habits, and like causing me to put myself in places that weren't like really serving me, or just like not giving me the right type of energy.
Absolutely. That's kind of like a perfect bridge to get to what actual detachment is. So when you think about, we've already talked about what it's not, but when we're thinking about what it is, one way to look at it is just doing something right, rather, for the sake of doing it right, or because it needs to be done, without worry of success or failure. So that's just one aspect of detachment. So this doesn't mean detaching from your family or the things that you love, but it means detaching from how we identify with our bodies and our personalities as ourselves. That's not who we are. We're wearing these bodies for a time period. We have the attributes of this personality because that's part of our human experience. But that's not who we are. We are completely deathless individuals that are also a part of the larger whole. And I think that that's the key, that we have to understand, that we are deathless. We've been here forever. We will be here forever, because energy cannot be just created nor destroyed. So we are a part of that energetic field. We are not these bodies. And so we have to detach ourselves from the idea that we physically are this being. Am I saying that right?
I don't know. So
yeah.
You're saying like, but like we literally are physically this being. Like this is a part of me. It's just not in me in my entirety. It's nowhere near that. And it's like you were saying, we're all this pure like consciousness, this awareness, this source energy that is living like through this show, like animating through this show and expressing through this show. But the body is just a shell, like a container for all of this energy.
Absolutely.
So that was definitely a really great point. And like what you were saying about not like stepping out of this identity of ourselves, like we have these ideas of ourselves, but like you were saying, ideas of like the ego and the personality, but like what really is that? And ultimately, like your idea of yourself is constantly changing each and every day. You might feel really great about yourself when you wake up and look at yourself in the mirror, but then like later on throughout the day, someone might make you feel a little bit different,
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
to go along with that, I think a big part of detachment is like recognizing that within ourselves, but like recognizing that within others as well.
Ooh, say more.
Yeah, because when you detach from like this perceived identity, this perceived idea of that you have of this person, you're no longer attached to the expectation or the outcome that you're anticipating them having,
I love that.
I feel like that I said that a little bit complex, but basically
No, like, we're coming back to that too, so
you're attaching on to an expectation of how this person should act based on how this person has acted around you, or based on how you want them to act.
Yes.
But like you're attached to an outcome, or maybe you're feeling some type of way because you haven't manifested this yet. You're not where you want to be financially, and you don't have this car yet, but you're attached to an outcome, And really, the detachment from that is like just putting that prayer out, putting that that thought, that wanting, that desire out into the universe, and like knowing that it's coming, allowing it to come. Stop being so attached to the outcome and in resistance, and know that just like all prayers are answered, and just like asking it is given. Allow that flow to come to you. It's crazy because like a little bit of what we were saying earlier about allowing that flow and resistance is like something that you literally have to consciously do, you know?
Yes.
You have to like stop yourself. You have to block yourself off from that natural flow, whereas with the natural flow, all you got to really do is just relax and allow it to come into you, because like that pure feeling, that pure source energy is the true identity of who we are. We just have to allow it to flow, and it could take so much to get it when we've been conditioned.
I was about to say the programming to make us not do that.
A lot. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, it takes conscious effort to better yourself mentally and physically and spiritually, and make sure you're surrounding yourself with high vibrational people, taking in high vibrational energies, food, music. It's the whole
because so many people think that as soon as you become aware of the spiritual life that everything just clicks. Exactly. No, you have to deprogram. You have to come off of that. Like it takes a lot to detox off of something you've been on since the day you were born, right?
I'm just laughing. I think
we hit home, right? We hit home.
We had the snap at the same second. I'm like, so many people. I'm like, yo, if you really think about it, you think about all the conditioning, all the programming, think about all the unconscious moments you had in your life. For me, I know, like, I didn't start to really think consciously until I was 17 years old. So, like, at that point, I had 17 years of programming. You know, I had 17 years of conditioning. I had 17 years of eating food that was not serving me in whatever way possible, you know? So it's like so much has had to be done in these past 5 years of my life to, like, reprogram, unprogram, and then, like, create this new mentality. And I know that, like, I'm only, like, 5 years old in this new mentality, you know? Like, wait till I have the other 17 years and I'm 34, like, then things are going to start coming full circle.
I'm telling you, honestly, when I hit my 30s, that's when I did feel that way. And it's funny because I've always said that I was raised in this mindset, but it's still, the world is still on me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I still had to see the way that the society has conditioned me. Right. Even if my house didn't condition me like that, I was still conditioned. So I definitely feel you in that. And just, you know, I definitely agree that double your age and then like the way you see life. So I'm just imagining, like, I'm 37 right now, and I'm like, what's it going to be when I'm 50? What's it going to be when I'm 70? What's it going to be when I'm 90? The amount of things that I know, like, I'm still a baby, you know? And so even in that thought, it's kind of exciting. Like, this is how we always get excited about these kind of conversations.
And one more thing on that note,
Go
like,
for it.
I feel like, you know, though a majority of, like, the conditioning and programming that involves, like, our health mentally, physically, and spiritually as a whole has been predominantly negative, there are certain things, you know, through way of our family or maybe just going to school that may have been positive, you know, like, but we got certain things about, maybe just depending on your situation and how much of, like, the people around you were doing to do that for themselves.
Absolutely.
So I feel like, you know, in some circumstances, might have had a little more of a pre-advantage or whatever you want to say, but man, I'm losing this one. I'm not losing it.
No, but, you're not losing it.
So, like, what I'm saying is that there's all these negatives, but there are some positives. So it's like when you become conscious and you become aware of all these things and all the programming that you've experienced already, like, it might be a faster of an undoing and a relearning process than it was to, like, program you to your default, like, mentality to begin with.
Because your soul wants to be deprogrammed, right? So it's going to help you to purge it. So
your soul
I definitely
is deprogrammed. It's like
the
physical being that becomes
the
programmed.
Human in you.
The
Absolutely.
soul's inside, like, I am this limitless being. What are you telling me? Like, why are you putting these limiting beliefs on me?
Which is where, like, the higher self, I feel like, gets chafed and stuff.
That's
because
the
they're exactly. See, this is why this needs to be officially our podcast. But this is, like, I don't know. I just love that we just, I don't know, you guys can see it yourself.
Well,
But so I guess out there, you might be sitting here confused with how you can be detached but still make life happen around you, or how you can manifest a job while being detached. How are you going to pursue a relationship while being attached? And even bigger, and this one directly to me, how do you raise a family while being detached? That's a big question. So I can definitely respond to the latter. So as you know, I have 3 kids out there, and my children, I adore them. They're my world. But the thing is, they're not mine. They're not. I'm their steward in this earth, on this planet, until they get to a certain level of maturity. But they don't belong to me. I don't own them. They are autonomous, independent beings. And when I think of parenting, I think so many times, especially like in the older generations, we've been programmed to make our kids submit. You know, like you have to do as I say, and it's the law. But think of you as an adult. As an adult, if somebody just comes at you, it's like, you better do what I say, and trying to use force, what's it going to make you do?
It depends on how you've been conditioned and programmed up to that point. And if your parents was constantly beating you into submission, then you probably going to submit to that person without them asking you to, without them even trying to force you into submission. Like,
but see,
so many people take like the role of like just actively submitting to everything that they're told to do and say, and I would say that makes up like the majority of at least the population in this country.
Absolutely.
And it's just because of the programming and conditioning, and I do feel like general society within like certain systems have aimed to mold people to be submissive.
I mean, we always talk about the United States school system.
That's what I was thinking about.
I mean, we won't get into it deeply now, but I know that myself as a teacher, I do feel complicit in the crime of, making children submit. And I don't agree with that. If I'm talking about that right now as a parent, I don't want my children to quote unquote submit. I don't want to bring other people's children into my classroom with the idea of submit to learn. Like, that's not how you learn.
Absolutely.
But with thinking about that, just jumping back onto the idea of raising a family, I think that keeping it in my mind that as my children grow and as they mature, they're fulfilling their own soul contract.
Yeah.
They have their own karmic journey that is entwined with mine, but also separate from mine. And it's almost like, if I'm going to picture it in my head, I feel like there's a Venn diagram of parenting and being a child. And so I imagine as the children are young, the Venn diagram crosses over a lot more. But of course, as they mature, the Venn diagram splits. So of course, we stay with some level of overlapping, but the idea is that level is not very much, and they are complete autonomous beings. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And so they're always going to be connected to me, and I'm always going to feel that need to protect them and to guide them. But at the same time, the detachment comes in knowing that their choices are theirs.
Yeah, and shout out to you for that, because when we was talking, I was getting ready to say, like, to a lot of y'all parents out there, I hope y'all are listening. Because I think way too many of us probably just got triggered hearing some of that and was just thinking about the flashbacks and the spankings and all this and that, the fly swatter, the wooden spoon, I'm just like, yo, like I said, if you got some kids, I hope you are listening, because this is how you raise a child. And like really just allow them to be their own independent being that they are, or you could make their life really, really hard and like try and force them to be something that they don't want to be,
Or
like
they weren't born to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not in their vibration, so you can't force anybody to do anything. You can't really move through manipulation. The universe doesn't respond through manipulation, but like what you will do is just create so many blockages and like
absolutely
things within these children that are gonna cause them to feel bad about being themselves. And I know like personally, like I've experienced a lot growing up as a child, and I do feel like like through the way that I was raised by my family, like a lot of it was just the conditioning and programming from the way they were raised for them to like project that onto me. So it's so crucial and so essential for all of us to like take responsibility within ourselves, to like check ourselves and make sure that we're not like
Passing on this
yeah,
trauma.
yeah, it's a generational curse if you ask me, like to because it has such a negative effect like into our physical health, into our mental health, which are so interconnected that they might as well be the same thing. And it's just like all of that plays such a crucial role on like how your soul is feeling. And it's like when we choose to allow children to be themselves and to be the independent beings that they are, there's so much happiness and radiance and love that they emit to the world, you know?
They
And
discover their magic quicker too.
absolutely. They never
They
lose
never
it.
exactly. They're never
lose
blind to it.
because
Absolutely.
we come into this world so in our divine nature, so in tune with our third eye all the way open, you know, and like we're seeing the world for the magical, limitless, ever expanding universe that it is and always has been. But then it's like through these conditionings and programmings that the veil starts to come down over like this illusion that we're living in.
Even something as basic as when your kid comes to you with their, imaginary something, you'd never say it doesn't exist.
Right.
Because you don't know.
How doesn't it
You don't
exist?
know. Exactly.
How doesn't it exist?
Because the imagination is manifestation.
Absolutely.
Those two things go hand in hand. I never shoot them down.
This whole universe, you're probably already talked about this before, but this whole universe is just, like this physical reality is just the manifestation of thought.
Oh, like, yeah, we've definitely talked about that, and we need to get into that in another one. Maybe we need to come back for another, we got to get into that
There is nothing in this
That's
physical
like my favorite.
world that didn't start from within, from some thought,
I say that all
some
the
concept
time.
that was created.
Yes.
And this is a big thing with, like, detaching, because a lot of people get caught up on, like, the physical, material manifestation, you feel me? And it's like, you don't need to be caught up on that. You don't need to be attached to that outcome, because it's already done. Like, once you've envisioned it within your being, within your mind, like, it exists there now. Mm-hmm. And now it's only a matter of time before the inner world manifests to the outward projection.
Absolutely.
It must happen. So it's just more so of, like, not being attached to that specific outcome, and then, like, it allows spirit to, like, fill in the blanks and just, like, bring it all into fruition. And it's so much more magical that way. Everything I prayed for, everything I've asked for, everything I've aimed to manifest, when I let go of how I thought it was going to happen, because, like, when you...
Because it's always, it comes out better. Like, yeah,
when you hold on to how you think it's going to happen, you're going to be sit there like, why is it not happening this way? Why is it not happening this way?
Because you're limiting yourself.
When it happens this way, then I'm going to start taking action. When it happens that way, then I'm going to start doing this. And it's like, when you just start moving in the general theme or direction of what it is that you're aiming to manifest, everything else is just going to come alive. Just keep moving in that direction, keep stepping in that direction, keep flowing in that direction, and everything else is just going to be brought to you. And then you realize, like, on the journey that you're now taking, on those steps that you're now taking, you're like, like, this is all I really needed to do. I needed to let go of the attachment to that outcome and just put my feet in motion. And now, like, I've allowed this natural flow of abundance to just, like, flow
let me
into
jump
my life.
in when you speak of that, because that's the one part I really want to drive home, is the idea that just because you're not attached to how it's going to look as an outcome doesn't mean that you shouldn't be fully invested into it.
Absolutely.
There's that fine line between being attached and being invested. You know what I mean? And then you have to just know the balance, because think about, and I'm just going to go back to this idea of just being a parent, because I just feel like that's the ultimate detachment, you know? I'm still fully invested in my role as the nurturer, the provider, the guidance, the teacher of these children. That's my obsession personally. Absolutely. But in that, I know, and I just never forget that all of this is the role that I play in their lives, but this life belongs to them, and this is theirs. And so that's my fine line. That's what's keeping me from tipping too far over to the side of being, attached. And, like, God forbid, of course, some factor were to take them off this earth, of course that'd be the ultimate test of this, and I say, God forbid, because it's gonna happen, because it happens to everybody. So that is the ultimate test. So for anybody that's going through anything like that, obviously there's levels to this, but just in general, just as a way to live life, I try to just even detach myself from that. But on that note, we're hitting the 30-minute mark.
Yeah.
And I really want to
Side
keep
note,
going. Okay, go
quick,
ahead.
just on that
Okay.
topic that you were just speaking of, like, we think that a lot of people really get into the detachment, and at first they can be sad and they can be upset because they're like, yo, like, I don't want to detach from, like, my people and my friends and my family and like this physical identity of them. Like, I don't want to detach from, like, especially when it comes to dealing with like the transition into the spiritual world that we often refer to as death, but that sounds very grim and menacing.
It's how people feel about words. I always say absolutely.
So with that being said, it's like you detach from their physicality, but that allows you to connect to what they really are and realize that even when they leave this physical world, that you will always be connected to them, and you always have been connected to them, and you could never not be connected to them. So it's like detaching from the superficial, because like ultimately this, like I said, this is my physical extension, but it is like superficial in a sense, because it's not really telling of like my true nature or what I am. It's just, I don't know what it is, but it's something. It's but like, just like detaching from the illusion and allows you to really connect to what's real.
Absolutely.
The eternal nature of everything that is. Like you said, we are deathless, limitless beings, and that's the nature of this universe.
For sure. But I don't want you guys out there to feel like this is it, because we need to actually talk about how you do it. How do you put this into practice? So we're actually going to come back with a part 2 for this episode. But obviously, just like every other episode, we need to end this with just pulling ourselves back and having a quick 3-minute reset. So are you down to have a quick meditation with me?
That.
All right.
Totally with that.
Perfect. So out there, everybody who's watching on YouTube, find yourself your comfortable chair. If you're on iTunes, you don't see us, but you can hear us. So get yourself comfortable. Put both feet on the ground. Just close your eyes and feel yourself breathing in and out. So you're breathing in right now, that detachment. And you're breathing out right now, the attachment to the superficial. Just in. And out. Relax your forehead. Feel the tension just leave your eyebrows. Now relax your eyes. Your eyelids stop fluttering. Release the tongue from the top of your mouth while letting your jaw go slack. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Let them relax. Press your back against your chair. Just relax into that chair. Feel your tailbone at ease into the cushion of your seat. Let's just breathe for a moment. Be aware of your thoughts, watching them just float on by like clouds. No judgment, just aware. Now set your intention for the rest of today. My intention is I will let go of worry, resentment, and judgment to allow for calm, peace, and acceptance. Take a moment to send your gratitude into the universe. Now open your eyes and you are ready to continue your day. So thank you for joining myself and my guest host today, Tariq Dupri, and we will see you in next week. Actually, though we're recording this in a few minutes, we'll be seeing you again next week on the Golden Hour podcast. So as always, as within, so without.